The live-action Snow White was supposed to be a sure thing, a remake of one of Disney's most cherished classics, with a modern twist aimed at today's audiences. But what unfolded at the box office was a financial catastrophe. Within just a week, the movie suffered nearly a 70% drop in ticket sales. That kind of fall is more than just disappointing. It's devastating. Industry analysts quickly concluded that there was no chance of the film recovering its massive costs. When you combine the production budget, which is rumored to be at least $270 million, with a marketing campaign that possibly cost an additional $200 million, Disney's financial exposure skyrocketed. Merchandise didn't move. Licensing deals fell through. Global interest evaporated. What Disney expected to be a cornerstone success has become a financial sinkhole, one that's prompting executives to look for answers, and more notably, someone to blame. Amid the fallout, rumors began to spread that Disney might take the unusual step of trying to recoup a portion of Rachel Zegler's paycheck. While this sort of legal move is rare in Hollywood, insiders claim Disney is actively reviewing her contract. They're reportedly examining whether she may have violated promotional or brand conduct clauses by making public statements that, in their view, hurt the film. This would represent a major escalation, not just in Disney's handling of failed projects, but in how studios may treat actors who stray from the carefully controlled narrative. The so-called refund demand, if real, is less about clawing back money for the sake of the bottom line, and more about setting a precedent that the talent involved in a movie must stay fully in line with the company's public image. Whether this leads to actual legal action or fizzles out as internal chatter, the implications are enormous. Rachel Zegler's interviews leading up to the release became a lightning rod for criticism. In clip after clip, she seemed to distance herself from the original 1937 Snow White, calling the prince a stalker, dismissing the love story, and framing the entire plot as outdated. Her remarks weren't seen as simply offering a new perspective. They were widely viewed as arrogant and needlessly hostile toward the very story she was hired to represent. Fans felt insulted. Longtime Disney loyalists felt alienated. The tone, the choice of words, and the attitude all combined to create a perception that Zegler didn't respect the legacy of the film. And in today's hyper-connected digital environment, perception becomes reality very quickly. Social media turned those sound bites into battlegrounds, and the backlash only grew louder as more people discovered the interviews. Whether intended or not, Zegler became the face of the controversy, and eventually, the film's failure. What fans expected was a tribute to a timeless story. What they received felt like a rejection of it. The live-action Snow White didn't just update a few elements. It overhauled the entire tone and structure of the original. Beloved characters like the dwarfs were either removed or reimagined beyond recognition. The musical charm was stripped down. The romance, a central element of the 1937 version, was de-emphasized or outright mocked. What replaced it was a more modern, message-heavy approach that many audiences found forced and joyless. This wasn't just a case of failing to live up to expectations. It was a case of redefining the expectations so dramatically that the core fanbase no longer recognized the story they once loved. Instead of being a modern homage, the remake came across as a rejection of everything that made the original matter. And for Disney, a brand that thrives on nostalgia, that kind of disconnect proved fatal. Inside Disney, the damage has triggered infighting. Different departments are reportedly pointing fingers in different directions. Some blame the marketing team for pushing messaging that clashed with the film's tone. Others argue that the script was never strong to begin with, and that the core concept lacked the emotional resonance of the original. Meanwhile, a growing number of voices within Disney leadership are focused on Rachel Zegler's public comments, seeing them as the moment things truly spiraled. The lack of a unified response has made the situation even worse. Normally, a studio absorbs a loss quietly and moves on. But in this case, the high-profile nature of the project, combined with the public backlash and the rumors of a refund demand, have made it impossible to manage discreetly. The internal confusion and fractured leadership responses now risk becoming a bigger story than the movie itself. From a legal perspective, Disney's alleged move to demand money back from Rachel Zegler introduces a host of complications that go far beyond standard entertainment industry practices. Typically, contracts between actors and studios include general behavioral expectations. sometimes labeled as morality clauses, along with specific obligations tied to promotional appearances and public representation. However, even in the presence of such clauses, demanding a partial refund after a film fails is almost unheard of. For Disney to proceed with this, their legal team would need to build a compelling case that Zegler's interviews caused quantifiable harm to the film's financial performance. That's not easy. Negative public reaction doesn't necessarily equal breach of contract. Proving a direct link between her words and the box office collapse would be speculative at best. Some legal experts argue this would set a dangerous precedent, one where studios could blame actors for public backlash anytime a project fails. It's one thing to deny someone future roles. It's something entirely different to pursue them financially after the fact. If Disney moves forward with this rumored legal effort, they risk more than just losing in court. They risk further damage to their already shaky public image. For decades, Disney has cultivated a carefully curated brand, one built on magic, family-friendly values, and legacy. But this situation doesn't fit that mold. Pursuing legal action against a young actress over statements she made during a press tour could appear petty, vindictive, and deeply corporate. It could shift public sentiment even further away from the studio, particularly among younger audiences who already see the company as out of touch. In a world where brand trust and goodwill are as important as box office numbers, looking like the villain in a PR battle can cost just as much as a financial flop. The longer this saga drags on, the more it distracts from Disney's other efforts and casts a shadow over future releases. What began as a public relations misfire has snowballed into a crisis of brand identity. From Zegler's side, reports suggest she is not planning to take the accusations quietly. Sources close to the actress say she's prepared to push back, publicly if needed. That could include releasing internal emails, behind-the-scenes directives, and other documentation showing she was encouraged, perhaps even instructed, to speak about the film's modernized themes in promotional interviews. If those documents exist, it would shift the conversation. Instead of being seen as someone who sabotaged the project, Zegler could be positioned as a scapegoat, someone following corporate messaging who was later punished when that messaging didn't land. Her supporters argue that actors don't control marketing strategies. They don't write scripts. They don't approve edits. They're told what to say, where to go, and when to promote. If Disney's legal action proceeds and Zegler chooses to fight it, the outcome could expose internal inconsistencies within the studio's promotional strategy and decision-making process. The implications of this case go beyond one film and one actress. If Disney succeeds, or even simply follows through with the threat, it could change the relationship between studios and performers across the industry. Actors may become far more cautious in public, choosing safe, corporate-approved soundbites over authentic perspectives. Press tours may become increasingly scripted. Studios may begin embedding stricter clauses in contracts, with harsher penalties for stepping outside tightly controlled narratives. This shift could have a chilling effect on how actors engage with their audiences. And from the other side, studios may feel justified in holding performers accountable for public reactions, even when those reactions are unpredictable or disproportionate. The balance between creative expression and corporate protection will become more strained. The potential legal battle between Disney and Zegler highlights a larger, ongoing tension, one between branding and authenticity, between tradition and transformation, and between art and risk management. Whether or not Disney formally demands a refund, whether or not Rachel Zegler chooses to respond publicly or privately, and whether or not any legal case ever materializes, one truth is already clear. The Snow White remake has become a case study in how legacy, messaging, and public perception can collide in the worst possible way. What was meant to be a flagship title for a new generation of Disney storytelling has instead become a cautionary tale. It shows how quickly a beloved franchise can lose its footing when the balance between modernizing and honoring the past is miscalculated. It demonstrates how public relations can spiral when messaging feels insincere. And it reveals how studios, actors, and audiences are now entangled in a new media landscape, one where every word, every clip, and every reaction has lasting consequences. The fallout from this remake will echo far beyond this project. It will influence how future remakes are written, marketed, and cast. It will influence how performers approach press, And it may determine whether audiences still trust Disney to revisit the stories that helped build its empire. For now, all that remains is uncertainty, and the realization that even fairy tales are no longer safe from the weight of modern controversy.